I can go ahead and say that one is definitely in my top 5. Probably because it had the best use of a hacksaw I've ever seen in a horror film.
I won't even ask you because I haven't seen it, but I got to ask you, what did they do with the hacksaw?
I don't want to spoil anything for anybody that's listening, but it is on Netflix, and I do highly recommend watching it.
Okay. Is that something you have to have a barf bag next to you when you're watching it?
Depends on your level of strong stomach.
Okay. So in other words, don't eat a lot of food before watching it.
Maybe.
Okay. So going from there,
but
what other movie would you recommend?
And this one, not so much for the gore. I'll actually recommend the remake of Stephen King's It. That movie was absolutely fantastic.
I haven't seen the remake of it. The original one, I don't know how many hundreds of times I've seen it, but that was still kind of scary. Now, actually, haven't they made that movie about 3 versions? I know the original one, then there was one with Kurt Russell in it, if I remember.
No, I don't think there was one with him in it. I'm not sure. There may have been a similar movie, but it wasn't a Stephen King film. And I can't remember if that was actually a movie. I know Kurt Russell's been in a few horror films. The Thing.
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. The Thing, and I apologize.
Yep. Which that's actually another really good film. But yeah, the remake of Stephen King's It's really good. I love the original. The remake is wonderful with the special effects that they can do with it.
Well, tell us a little bit about it, because I'm writing that down. I'm going to go look it up and see what I can find in clips of it later on.
Well, if you haven't seen the new Pennywise, fantastic. The clown is absolutely fantastic in this film. It's basically the original, but it's like they put the original on sort of a different level, because the original was a made-for-TV miniseries, so there was only certain things you could get away with on television. So they played off of that, then took the movie and ran away with it. You can't replace Tim Curry as the original Pennywise. There's no way. Love his performance in that movie. The new actor, Bill Skarsgård, takes the clown and makes Pennywise way more creepier, way more cerebral. He's actually tormenting these people, showing them what scares them. And then he feeds off their fears, and then eventually feeds off them.
Interesting. When we think about clowns, it's funny. If you dress somebody up in a clown and put them in a parking lot with a chainsaw, the reactions you get with people, or just people dressed in a clown thing, it just freaks people out. There's a lot of people are scared of clowns, just in general.
And I think the reasoning behind that is we've seen a lot of movies with this in it, but honestly, you can see the smile on the outside of somebody's face if it's painted there, but you don't know what's going on in their head.
Oh, yeah. There was a guy in Brazil, I believe, back a few years ago that, was putting stuff up on YouTube. He would dress up as a clown. Yeah, he would be in a parking lot, with a hatchet or an axe or a chainsaw, and just started, and people would start running and screaming, or he'd be going down the street at night, right? And these people would be walking down the street, and all of a sudden here he is, and the people see him, and they try to run away from him. It's just anything with a clown, people react as they're scared. And I always thought when I was a little kid, clowns were something that was happy, but you dress somebody in a clown and put them in the wrong place at the wrong time, people freak out.
And that's definitely true. But there are nice clowns out there. I have friends that actually do that. Not scary at all. It's just people have this stigma about what you can't see behind the grease paint.
Oh yeah. I know. If I saw a clown at night in the parking garage or even down the street, I'd be the first one running away. Well, I can't run, but I'd be gone as fast as I could.
Right, and more than likely I would too.
Now, I'm trying to think of that one actor, that had, he was famous for a couple of those really, butcher type of, slasher type movies. Can't think of what he was called, Captain something. Now, he just recently did another movie and reprised his role.
The Rob Zombie films, House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and the sequel we're fixing to get called Three from Hell.
Yeah, that's it.
And funny you mention him. Sid Haig is actually going to be at Scarefest.
Oh, really?
Right, and Sid's actually a really cool guy. I've met him a few times. He's actually a wonderful person.
So nothing like he plays on in the movies, huh?
You get a lot of the jokes and things from it, but I mean, other than that, very, 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 very good guy.
So the Scarefest, where is that in your area?
Scarefest is actually in Lexington, Kentucky. It's at Lexington Center, and this year it's going to be September 12th to the 15th. We've got a pretty good guest lineup at this point. I think it's pretty solid, and a lot of people come down there. We've got fans from all over the place. They've got fans from California, people that come from other countries sometimes. I mean, Scarefest is actually pretty big, and it's just gotten bigger over the years.
Interesting. I mean, does the majority of the people go to it? Do they dress up as their famous killers? I mean, Freddy Krueger type of thing, or?
We do. We have actually a lot of guests and patrons that come dressed up, and it's actually a really cool environment. We have actually a few professional cosplayers that come out there. We've got actually a gentleman by the name of Scott Kindred. He does Kentucky Krueger. He does actually a really spot-on Freddy. I mean, the costume's great, and his acting through it's pretty fantastic.
So I take it then the people kind of like role play and they really get into it.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them, no. We have people that just come dressed up. And then we have haunt actors from, haunted attractions that come by, like Wicked World Scaregrounds, things like that. Those guys come by and actually play with the audience, run around, talk to the people, give them a little jump scare every now and then. I mean, and it's just with the patrons that are walking down the halls and things, and it's just actually a really good environment. And it's like I said, it's actually a fun show. Guest list is pretty good this year. We actually have Bruce Campbell this year.
Oh, really?
We do. And if I'm not mistaken, that's his first time he's actually been to Scarefest.
Well, that right there is worth going to.
Right. He's actually going to be there Saturday and Sunday. He's doing photo ops. He's signing things. And a lot of people, there's definitely going to be a lot of people there to see him. And I'm actually happy we got him. That's actually one of the bucket list horror celebrities I've been wanting to meet for quite a while.
I don't blame you. I mean, he's done so much work, and I just, I think if he wouldn't have been in it, I don't think, the movie would even have made what it did.
I honestly think without him, there probably wouldn't have been an Evil Dead 2.
Probably not. I mean,
I don't think it would have went past Evil Dead.
Yeah. The more I think about it. What is your favorite movie that he's done?
I've actually got a couple. He did one called My Name is Bruce, and it's where he ends up at a convention in a town, and then these demons and monsters show up, so they think that he's going to save them like he does in the movies.
And
but he's actually playing himself in the movie.
Interesting. And
And of course, Evil Dead 2 is my other favorite film he's in. And the Evil Dead TV series that's been out is actually not terrible.
Now, I haven't even seen that. That's something I should research on that, too.
Yeah, Ash versus Evil Dead is actually a really, really good series. And I'm sad they ended it early.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, some of these shows that come on, I thought they were really fantastic. And, maybe I miss a couple episodes and I go watch it again and it's not there.
Right. And a lot of shows in that genre tend to disappear quickly. And then they go for something more family oriented or, God forbid I say this, but something like SpongeBob. They'll put that on TV, but, horror fans don't really have a whole lot. I mean, as far as network television goes.
Yeah.
As far as things like
Go ahead.
As far as things like Netflix goes, I mean, you can look and it's this plethora of horror shows. You've got Scream, you've got the Santa Clara Diet, you've got Ash versus Evil Dead, you've got Sabrina the Teenage Witch. They actually took that show and made a better horror version of that show. And then we've got, of course, American Horror Story. It's countless things on these streaming channels. And it's actually pretty fantastic that you can just go home and you don't have to turn on the evening news and you can actually escape to watch this.
Well, that it's changed too. Like Sci-Fi Channel. I used to be a big Sci-Fi Channel fan, but everything they seem to have done now in the last year or two, I don't know if they're not like they used to be. I mean, what they put up there in movies like Shark Fest or whatever they call it, or some of these other things like cartoons and stuff that they've been doing. I don't know. They haven't been showing any really good anything lately, unless it's my imagination.
Right, and some of those movies do have a little bit of charm. The first couple of Sharknado movies were actually good, as cheesy as they were. They were actually pretty good. Now, when you start making 4 and 5 of them, that's kind of kicking the horse a little bit too much. But, the first couple of Sharknadoes were good, but then it seemed like Sci-Fi just went into, it was Shark Week every day in the production office. Because then we had movies like Ghost Shark, and then we had movies like Sand Shark, and then Sharktopus, and then Mega Shark versus Giant Octopus, and it was just it was just shark everything.
Yeah,
for almost 4 or 5 years straight.
I noticed that, like I would flip on there because I couldn't find anything good on my cable channels, and I figured, okay, Sci-Fi, right? And the first thing I see, it's like the 20th version of something with sharks, okay? And it's just after you're right, after the first probably 3 shark movies, right? It lost its impact. I mean, it started getting more ridiculous also. And I think they were cranking them out like you wouldn't believe. And the more they were cranking them out, it was like, well, let's see how much money we can make off of it. And they started getting totally ridiculous.
Right, and I agree with that. I think Sci-Fi needs to go back to more of the format like they were. Mystery Science Theater 3000, Doctor Who, Star Trek. I mean, Sci-Fi needs to actually go back to basics and go into a sci-fi genre.
Well, I think so. I mean, it's some of the other cable channels picked up, like, what do you call it? All these older ones that Sci-Fi used to, run for years, like Stargate and stuff like that. But again,
right.
that's kind of got run in the ground. But I mean, I think the worst mistake is when they stopped the funding of Stargate, and that was the end of Stargate when they, didn't want to produce anymore, or put the money out for it. But I mean, that I think that's what was bringing a lot of people to Sci-Fi.
Right, and it was the science fiction genre. I mean, and you can have a little horror mixed in with that. That's fine. But, sci-fi has moved to more of